Chambonga. Oh my day. Hello hunters, what is up? It is your boy Beans, and today we are gonna glaze AT Arkveld for views. Talk about this hunt in a little bit more detail. I think AT Arkveld is an excellent monster and a fantastic hunt. Stellar stuff, but I say this in the context of what Wilds is as a monster hunter. So let's break that down real quick. Now I can't speak for every weapon in the game, but we'll use the longsword because it's the easiest one
It's the longsword
to make fun of, and it's also the most popular. Let's start with the universal stuff. You got your standard 5th gen World/Rise hybrid edition of the Hunter with some tweaks and modifications. Some weapons in Wilds have been blessed with directional attacks. In the case of Longsword, we have directional Spirit Blade 1 and 2, while in red we can loop Crimson/1 with directional Spirit Blade 1 for continuous movement while attacking. Note that I'm not talking about focus mode here. You can perform this outside of focus mode. Now of course, add focus mode to the mix and well, you have the ability to free aim your attacks while they're happening. So this means that the hunters now have highly increased mobility and highly increased precision compared to, let's say, Monster Hunter World. Sticking to the topic of focus mode, we also have focus magnetism, where some attacks gain a bonus gap closing property if conditions are met, and the attack homes aggressively on the target. You have to be aiming at the spot the game wants you to aim at so that this thing activates. Worth noting, for the longsword, we can now rotate freely while in special sheath, not a small detail. We have focus strikes, which are just canned attack animations. Some options exist for a longsword, so we have mobility within our focus strike as well, executed on an open wound or a temporary weak point opening. Key thing to note here is that you need a wound or a weak point to be present, and you actually have to land the focus strike, as easy as it sounds. This will be important later when we discuss AT Arkveld. Add easily accessible CC to the list. Something slightly different in Wilds, we have added hyper armor sprinkled here and there during the focus strike animations. Universally, for the longsword, we have it on Spirit Release, Spirit Thrust, and for some reason, post pressing the ISS button, special sheathing, and the early frames of Spirit Charging. Very weird. There's probably more situations I can't confirm. I might be mistaken on some, but I mentioned this because I've seen this happen a lot. I need to mention this because it's going on the list as well. Hunters have accessible ways of brute forcing their damage. And finally, skipping through the tweaks Longsword got on the combo restrictions and the cancelable Spirit Blade 3, we have a new gimmick, which is kind of a new technology. I am of course talking about the Spirit Charge and the Spirit Charge cancel. Not only does this give the longsword ways to ignore the spirit gauge meter and also ignore mistakes, but more importantly for our discussion, I want to put emphasis on this situation post EI Spirit Slash, where you can buffer Spirit Charge and either follow through with the charge or Foresight Slash. This is essentially the same thing as having leftover wire bugs to counter a subsequent hit from a combo in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, but the difference here is that it only costs some stamina, but you have to actually commit to the buffer within a reasonable time frame to be able to use this tech in a real hunt. So maybe not so straightforward. My point is, the LS and many other weapons have ways of keeping at it, i.e. they can keep going, they can keep attacking while staying relatively safe throughout the hunt. So the final addition to the list might not apply to all weapons, but yeah, I'm just gonna add it. Access to new gimmicks that evolve the weapon's capability, utility, and potential. So we have all these things now. Let's just ask ourselves, wow, the hunters are pretty strong, huh? What would it take to match them in the endgame? Well, in my eyes, when it comes to Wilds, you're gonna need a monster that checks at least most of these boxes. I'm gonna list them here. Monsters should have high mobility and some form of instability, i.e. slightly unpredictable limb/hit zone movement. A good example of this is actually Omega. Light on their feet to force us to benefit from the increased mobility and precision that we have. Number 2, and this is also due to the plethora of defensive options that we have. Monsters pretty much need to have high hitbox/ threat presence. This is a term I just made up, but I will elaborate. This can mean many things. This can mean low recovery between attacks or multiple options depending on where you're standing. It can also mean high coverage attacks that can threaten multiple hunters at the same time. You can also have multi-hits with variable timing to discourage lazy counters and offsets. And speaking of offsets more specifically, you can also put having a little bit more non-physical attacks as damage threats in the monster's kit. And finally, for my third point, and this is kind of related to the first 2 points, the monster should, in some shape or form, push close to the limits of what the hunter is capable of doing, the mechanics that Wild provides, and their specific weapon's maximum potential. Maybe this is a bit too much for high rank, but honestly, let's just say it, some of these monsters are preview master rank monsters in high rank. Now, with all these other factors, like environmental damage, hunter's tools, we also need to add a bonus caveat. They just need to be somewhat tenacious. There is so much stuff that you can do to abuse monsters. Does AT Arkveld fulfill those requirements? I can honestly say yes, she does. First off, this monster has no chill. It is constantly doing something, and while it can somewhat be predictable in a solo hunt, it is very hard to pin down in a group of hunters, especially if you have gunners running around and everyone's split up, or someone just gets hit and then Arkveld fixated on that person that's halfway across the map. It can be very chaotic. Also, AT Arkveld has way better gap closing potential compared to the non-AT counterpart. Specifically, this tracking leap that she does out of nowhere. This monster really does not let you heal up if it got its eyes on you, so you have to be careful. I'd say this monster requires quite a bit of practice compared to your average Wilds monster. There are some dangerous combos to watch out for. So already Arkveld checks some of the first 2 boxes, but let's dig deeper. We know that the chains are the weak points and they are fully exposed just as before, but because AT Arc has very low recovery on everything it does and is constantly presenting hitboxes with a lot of active frames all over the screen, flying around, resetting positions, changing its combo path, and sometimes even switching targets during its combo sequences, it is no longer a straightforward target to hit. Even with so much practice on tempered Arkveld and this AT hunt, I still make mistakes. I blame it on greed and maybe some skill issue as well, why not? But let's talk about the wounds and the focus strikes, because this is a point of contention when it comes to Wild's difficulty. Now, AT Arkveld already comes out of the box with 9/10 star wound system changes, i.e. way less wounds, way less topples. But the thing that sets this monster apart, of course, is that it's a guardian monster. And as we know, guardians can heal and close their wounds over time if left to do so. I recently played with someone who was going through a new playthrough of Wilds, and as we were fighting this innocent, poor, standard high rank Guardian de Shaguma, I thought to myself, wow, we really had it crazy back then. This Guardian wound gimmick would have been super sick if they wounded a little bit less and were a bit more tricky to pin down, creating this minigame of a timed rush to capitalize on that potential damage. And that's kind of how AT Arc feels when it comes to wounds. I found myself more often than not getting rage baited by AT Arkveld because I whiffed one focus strike, just the one. This leads me into frustrated repeat offender focus strikes, whiffing even more, getting hit into literal carts, I kid you not, just because of that minigame. So we can safely check that this monster is tenacious box now. It's not as free to capitalize on the wounds unless you are super accurate with your timing and aim of these focus strikes. And in some situations, you kinda have to just strategically let go of the wound, just so you don't risk your life trying to grab it. So what about the so-called hitbox/threat presence? Does AT Arc got those? Is it packed in? Well, yes, but actually, and then some. Lots and lots of Wilk. And Dragon element. When empowered, AT Arkveld can switch between Dragon or Wilked up version of his attacks, the latter creating the leftover Wilk crystals, also creating very tricky situations. You have to really be schmoovin', man, and I really mean schmoovin', man. You gotta pay attention. It creates somewhat of an uncertainty in some situations. And let's highlight those moments a little bit. We have, of course, the Guardian Wombo Combo Starter Yeet. Big lingering hitboxes, leaves Wilk all over. This will always lead to the high damage Dragon Ground Nuke. Has a lot of travel time, so dodging through it is a bit tricky. And to my understanding, depending on where the targeted hunter is situated after these line nukes, Arkveld will choose from a set of options. If you're close by, it will always go for the melee or physical options. If you're far away, it will try to nuke you from a distance. So the counterplay here is to try to close the gap towards where Arkveld is gonna land as quickly as possible. You guessed it, if you get hit by the first hit of this sequence, it is one of the most scuffed situations you can be in as a hunter in this entire game. You have to remember, the initial hit of this sequence, like many moves in Arkveld's kit, do not fully knock you down. Things like getting caught without no counter option, panicking where you're sacred, you might just get killed depending on your remaining health. And secondly, we have the Uppercut of Doom combo starter with so many options. A move that comes out super fast that you have to respect it at any given point. And it has both a Dragon and Wilk versions. So understandably, AT Arkveld can potentially light up a huge chunk of the arena with delayed Dragon energy explosions while starting a combo chain. That is kind of insane. I can go on and on, but I just want to lead everyone to the final checkbox. Does this hunt push close to the limits of the hunter with regards to their weapon's maximum potential? Well, if you were paying attention in the Longsword part of the video, I mentioned something about Spirit Charge and Spirit Charge Cancel. Now, this tech isn't really necessary, all things considered, outside of a few in-hunt situations. I guess for moments where you ISS this Arkveld cross-up charge into Chain Slam and you're up close, you don't actually have time to sheath again. So it is applicable here. Outside of just fixing your errors in a hunt, this is just unnecessary flexing. An actual death-threatening situation is something crazy like these clips here, where AT Arkveld starts a sequence of attacks, throws so many hitboxes at me, leaving will crystals everywhere, and leaving me with no option but to tap into the advanced stuff that the weapon can do, just to avoid damage. That, my friend, is definitely a checked box on the matter of pushing my weapon close to its maximum potential. And there you have it. I don't have much else to say. I didn't write much else after this, but notice how I never mentioned the concept of fun, because fun is apparently subjective, but LARPing, my friend, is eternal. Is this hunt good for the player? Or is this hunt good for Monster Hunter? That will definitely depend. The comment section is all yours to debate in. I heard that stuff does wonders to your video, so do feel free. I tried this hunt with a bunch of other weapons. I enjoyed this hunt with Lance. I think it's pretty fun. I tried it with Switch Axe, and I recently tried it with DB. And I think DB kind of just doesn't really care. I'm not throwing DB slander out there, I'm just saying. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. This is your boy Bean signing out. Take care and have a good day. I played some Tekken, by the way. The rank system is busted. Bye.